We're all familiar with four-letter words. We're not supposed to say them out loud in polite company. I've got another one to add to your list today. Nice. Nice is perhaps one of the most nefarious of the four-letter words, because nice pretends to be something that it is not. Nice is so easily mixed up with good. But nice isn't necessarily good. One of the best illustrations of this comes from a musical that I once directed when I taught full-time in high school. Into the Woods is a story of all of our favorite fairy tale characters as they go through their lives, running into one another and encountering moral difficulty after moral difficulty. And each of them are faced with making the right decision. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And they're left then faced to deal with the consequences of their decisions. The story has within it Little Red Riding Hood. We all know what her story is. She's on her way to grandmother's house with her basket of goodies, for her grandmother is sick in bed. And on the way, she encounters the big bad wolf. And in the play, the big bad wolf is very nice. He's very charming. He comes to her and speaks such syrupy words to her. And she says, "No, I have to stay on the path. Grandma told me to stay on the path and never to stray off of it." But the wolf then distracts her by saying, "But if you stay on the path, you're going to miss the flowers over here. And you're going to miss this little thing over here. And you're going to miss this over here." And she begins to question her grandmother's advice. Should I stay on the path or not? And she wanders off the path. She wanders off picking flowers and whatnot. And the wolf, in the meantime, as we know, rushes ahead of her to grandmother's house, eats the grandmother, and then climbs in bed with her clothing on. So that when Riding Hood comes there, what happens? But he eats her too. And both of them are lost, devoured by this beast who was so nice. And this beast needs to be killed by someone else in order for them to be saved. The woodsman comes along, as you know, and kills the wolf, and out of his stomach, grandmother climbs out, and Little Red Riding Hood climbs out. They could not get out of that dark place on their own. They needed someone to come and save them. And when Red Riding Hood comes out of her dark tomb, she reflects on what had happened to her. And she sings this little song about how she thought she was doing the right thing. How sometimes straying off the path is exciting. Scary, but it's exciting. And going down and exploring other possibilities are exciting. And she realizes in the end that nice is different than good. There are so many nice people in the world who are not good. The nice man who wants the little child's help finding his puppy dog so he can abduct him. The nice politician who then does not keep any of the promises he made in the election year. The nice things we say to one another and then speak behind their backs. Nice is a front. Nice is a veneer. Veneers are put on by dentists to hide rotten teeth. Nice is a front. We are called, on the other hand, to be good. To be good. Deep down, good. Regardless of what anyone else or anything else might do or say. Jesus comes to his hometown today and he announces the goodness of the gospel. He announces this new teaching that he has for them, and it is good. And everyone sitting there begins to question then, what is he all about? And it says at the end, they took offense at him. They took offense at him. And Jesus did not back down to that. Jesus did not try to be nice, but rather he stood fast in the goodness, and he was amazed at their lack of faith. Because that's the reality. When we are good, it will be received or not received by those around us. There will be those that take offense to goodness, and there will be those who want to try to sway our actions in a different way. But we have to stand fast, regardless of the effects it has on others. Because the one thing we cannot control is how another person will react to goodness. We can't control them. We can only control our actions. We can only control what we do or say. And so we are charged today to do and to be good without compromise, without being nice. Nice is often put out there to avoid confrontation. We're nice because we don't want to stir the pot. We're nice because we want to avoid a difficult situation. We're nice to prevent us from dealing with something that probably needs to be dealt with. Conflict is not inherently bad. In the war of good and evil, conflict is necessary, and we are on the front lines. Now, to say that we are to be good and not necessarily nice does not mean that we're supposed to be mean and nasty either. It's not what we have license to do. Because goodness is always governed by charity. Goodness is always governed by truth. Goodness is always governed by justice and mercy. And if we are truly good, then we will be kind. We will be loving. We will be compassionate. We will be merciful. We're not going to be jerks. We're going to be good. But it may be difficult. God speaks to his prophet in our first reading today, and he says, you know, you're going to a people who are rebellious. You're going to talk to a people who don't want to hear my ways, who don't want to know what goodness is, because they're satisfied doing their own thing. But you have to go there, because they have to know a prophet was in their midst. Whether or not they accept you, whether or not they follow you, you go and you do what is right. And that doing goodness, it seems, always brings about a cross in our lives. Being good involves a cross. It involves a sacrifice. It involves losing someone or something. Jesus taught us that. And St. Paul teaches it to us again. He says, in my life there is a thorn in my flesh, and I've asked God to take it away, and he won't. He says, my grace is enough for you. My grace is enough to keep you good. My grace is enough to keep you on the right path. Do not stray from that. And we never find out what Paul's thorn is. Was it another disciple that he couldn't stand, that he had to work with? Was it a speech impediment that in his preaching he kept stumbling over what he had to say? Was it that he was lame or crippled in some way? We don't know. All we know is he struggled with something his entire life. But in that, he was drawn to God. That did not give him permission to change his ways. He still had to be good. So you and I, today, are called not to niceness. God is not nice. Jesus is not nice. We see that in today's gospel. But God is good. And Jesus is good. And he asks us to be good before anything else. Good. It's another four-letter word. And that is one that we can take and speak and live before everyone that we meet.